You're right, guys, Cardbender here, up for your next video. This time we're going to be looking at Druid from the Wailing Caverns mid-expansion mini-set. So, Druid, I think, have got some interesting cards that should help them out for new archetypes. Or at least archetypes that haven't been as strong. This gives them some more tools. So the first one we're going to look at is the Fang-bound Druid. So this is a 3-mana 4/3 taunt with a death rattle. Reduce the cost of a beast in your hand by 2. So if this gets the effect, a really powerful card, because then you can think of this kind of equates to it's 1 mana's worth of cost, right? So it's 3 mana, but if it gets a cost of reduction of 2 on another minion, then this works out only being 1 mana. So then it's really strong if that hits off. As a body, it's a body that you want to play early. If you do play this in a deck, you want to play it on 3 and get that effect early. So it kind of makes more sense in a tempo deck, which unfortunately I think does counteract a little bit with the state of Druid. So in terms of Druid, the decks that run Beast, we of course have Guardian Animals, but that deck, there isn't really space for this card. If you think with that card, you're already running all of the ramp. You're running 2 Innovates, 2 Lightning Blooms, 2 Wild Growth, and 2 Overgrowth. That's 8 cards worth of ramp. Then you're running all of the Guardian package, so 2 Guardian Animals, and then you're running 7 Beasts. You're running the Lake Threshers, the Twilight Runners, the 4/5s that have a Death Rattle 3 mana beast, and then Moonfang. So that's already another 9 cards, right? So that's 17 cards that's run, and then if you want to make it big, then you've got to be running the Clown package. So it doesn't really have much spare space. You can run nature studies in that, but some people aren't even finding room for the lunar eclipses to have a bit of removal on the way, because there's just not space for it. If you want to have that bigger package to run survival of the fittest and then clowns, then there's just no room. So as a beast package, that doesn't really match with this, even though it is irritating when you draw those beasts. Sorry, I'm moving my laptop there. Even though it is irritating when you draw those beasts, and the discount would be nice, I don't think it's worth it to run this. You need a much lower curve, I think, for this to make sense. And so where it would lead itself to potentially be useful is if you were running it, taking advantage of this taunt effect. So if you were going to use the Razor main Battle Guard, take advantage of the taunt fact of the minion. So the first minion you play each turn costs 2 less. One of the problems with this kind of taunt Druid package is that it just runs out of cards, unfortunately. So I've seen people making up for that by running Twilight Runners. So you kind of run like an early game taunt package and then run Twilight Runners as a draw engine to help you get through to a late game. So maybe it works this way. There's potential, I think, that this could help that deck have more tools. The problem with a card like Razor main Battle Guard is after you get the cheapness and you play your cheap taunts, your 2 mana or 3 mana taunts, you just run out of cards, because this has helped you, explode all your cards onto the deck, onto the board, and then after that you can't really do anything. So if they are able to kill that first wave, then usually can't do anything. So having card draw helps, and maybe if this helps you get out a Twilight Runner, maybe this means that you can then afford to play Living Seed to guarantee that you get your Twilight Runners. Maybe you can have a few more beasts too, and then you can play your Fang-bound Druid and get that discount, and then it helps you keep that tempo, that these early things. Maybe there's potential, I'm not sure, but whenever I did play Taunt Druid or saw versions of it, they can get on the board quite early and take control of the board. It's just they couldn't finish games. So maybe this gives you room to help finish games. Not sure though. An interesting card nonetheless. And then next up we have Lady Anaconda. So Lady Anaconda, super powerful effect. It's a it's a aura effect. So once you play her, all of your nature spells cost 2 less. So in terms of nature spells, you have obviously Innovates and Lightning Blooms. But you also have nature studies. You have solar eclipse. You have Cenarian Ward. So really powerful cards, and cards that all fit in the celestial alignment druid. So that is where you try to ramp up to 7 mana, then you play celestial alignment, turn all your cards into 1 mana cards, and then you try and ramp up quicker than your opponent. Now, a card like Lady Anacondra, you can then play that after you've played Celestial Alignment, and its reductions happens on top of the fact that they cost 1. So suddenly you can play all of those cards, even your Blooms, Innovates, which was usually a hindrance, is that they would now cost 1, so you couldn't play them. Well, now you can play them for free. You can play your Nourish for free, ramp back up, even play Solar Eclipse and Cenarian Ward immediately and make a huge board. So once you do get to that point, if you play Lady Anacondra, you've won the game. That's a game-winning play immediately. So super powerful effect here in that deck alone. And then whether it can fit in another deck, we're not too sure. So this would mean you're probably playing Nourishes as well. So maybe if you're playing more of a tokeny deck, taking advantage of all the nature spells that you would run in a token deck, and then you use this to kind of pop off. But in that kind of deck, it's not as strong. Because you need to get to this point and then play the cards generally in the same turn, because otherwise your opponent's going to try and clear this. But still, really powerful, definitely legendary worthy, and I think it can have a really powerful effect. And in Celestial Druid, it's an auto include and makes that deck stronger. And then maybe if there's another tokeny build, then maybe it fits in there too. Okay, and then last card for Druid is the Deviate Dreadfang. So, the Deviate Dreadfang, this is a 8 mana beast, so quite slow, quite expensive to play, but it's a 4/9 after you cast a nature spell, summon a 4/2 Viper with Rush. So you can see there's a big theme that's coming in with these druids, and this is kind of a replacement of the exotic Mount Seller that we saw in in the last year, which rotated out. Now that was a 7 mana 5/8. This is a 8 mana 4/9, so it's a bit slower, and even towards the end of last year that deck didn't really see as much play because quite expensive. It's quite hard to get to this point. So if you are going to be playing this, you're definitely going to have to be playing the Living Seeds, which will reduce the cost of this beast. Now this card hasn't seen much play, but as a tutor effect, if you play it before 5 mana, it's draw a beast for 2 and then reduce its cost by 1. So you can kind of think of it as like the equivalent of a 1 mana tutor card in overall cost. But the fact that you get the reduction later is actually better, I think, because you can play this, then ramp up, and then you can then immediately play that card. You can also play this before Fungal Fortunes, so you can play this on 2, get the beast out of your deck, then you play Fungal Fortunes, and you might discard some of your other minions, but you won't discard that beast. And then you could ramp up, and then you can play and have a big pop-off turn with this Dreadfang. So definitely some synergy there. Definitely have to run the Living Seeds to make this work. But I think this is the potential to make a kind of more late-game tokeny Druid completely viable. I'm going to put some decks in a link to some of the decks. Jambray had been playing a kind of beast Druid recently, where he uses Solar Eclipse and Cenarian Ward for kind of endgame. He uses Malagos to draw all of your deck once you've ramped up. And this would immediately fit into that deck. He runs the Umbral Owls anyway, and the Twilight Runners. So if you drop these in, then you'd have 6 beasts. Maybe you can even afford to take one of those beasts away, and take advantage of still using Overgrowth but not running Wild Growth. So kind of a hybrid, some early game, some late game. And I think this would fit really well in there. Or you could also play this in a just much more token heavy, and maybe you still play Glowfire Swarms, and so it's still mostly a spell-based deck. But you have this as your top-end finisher for making a big board and using Arbor Up to finish. So really, really strong card, I think. Still slow, 8 cost, 8 mana, but yeah, definitely big potential for Druid for some new deck variants. Exciting times. Right, so that's it for the Druid. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next for a Hunter video. Thanks.